Greetings to my fellow Reds. Well, I'm still marveling at the fact that we got out of jail yesterday in the game against Brighton. I mean, that was the biggest steal probably since the Great Train Robbery. How did we come away with 3 points? But the record books will show that Man United travelled to Brighton's Amex Stadium, won the game 3-2 and garnered our first 3 points of the season. Now, there was a lot of speculation in terms of the starting lineup. Would Victor Lindelof be dropped after his abysmal performance against Crystal Palace? Well, to my horror, he was still in the team. Ollie did make 3 changes from the previous game, bringing back Aaron Wan-Bissaka for Tim Fosu-Mensah, bringing in Nemanja Matic for Scott McTominay, and bringing in Mason Greenwood for Daniel James. So we lined up with a 4-2-3-1 formation. The David de Gea in goals, the back four, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. The holding midfielders were Pogba and Matic. And the front three were Mason Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 role, Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial up front. Well, I have to say that I probably died 1,000 deaths during this game. As you know, Brighton hit the woodwork on 5 occasions. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal, and it appears that that is a record in the Premiership era. But as Bruno Fernandes so eloquently said after the game, as footballers, you're paid to put the ball into the net, not onto the woodwork. But had this been the other way around, and had we hit the woodwork 5 times, I guess I'd be really expressing myself with utter dismay as to how close we had become. So I think Brighton can feel very hard done by with respect to that, because on at least 4 of those occasions, the keeper looked well beaten. So the game started off with United looking extremely languid. I felt that we were second to every 50-50 ball. The marking was slack. There was no urgency in the play. There was no pace in the play. And it was really a most frustrating game to watch generally. The opening goal came courtesy of a penalty. And as you know, Neil Maupay took it for Brighton. He scored with the so-called Panenka, which makes the goalkeeper look really stupid. And of course, Maupay was making all sorts of gestures. Well, he wasn't doing the same thing at the end of the game when he gave away what turned out to be the winning penalty. The penalty was won with a foul by Fernandes on the excellent Brighton right-back Lamptey, really excellent player. No arguments about the penalty, and Brighton took a deserved lead. Well, we went into halftime on parity thanks to a Lewis Dunk own goal, which initially was credited to Harry Maguire. Luke Shaw won a free kick to the left of the penalty box after he'd made a good run upfield. Bruno took the free kick. He fizzed it across goals. Nemanja Matic at the far post put it back into the mix, and we initially thought that Maguire got his foot to it, but in fact he got his foot to Lewis Dunk's foot, and the ball went into the net. So 1-1 at half-time, and it was something that we hardly deserved. Second half started with, as you know, a penalty being awarded to Brighton after just a couple of minutes into the second half for an alleged foul by Paul Pogba. Well, fortunately, the ref was advised by VAR to go and analyse the situation. It was never a penalty, and it was rightly turned down. And United, in fact, went into a 2-1 lead with certainly the goal of the game. A fantastic long pass from Bruno Fernandes. Marcus Rashford sprinted onto him. He was able to take the ball into his stride, cut into the box, and a goal reminiscent of one that he scored against Aston Villa last season. He twisted the defender, Ben White, inside and out 3 times and smashed the ball in. He really showed remarkable composure and a fantastic goal. Right, so then you think we're 2-1 up, we're going to go on the offensive, we're going to seal the game, we're going to win the game, but it was anything but that. And we invited, in fact, Brighton onto us. And what a nerve-wracking second part of the second half. Some substitutions were made. He brought on Fred for the absolutely ineffectual Pogba on about 63 minutes. And then you could see where Ollie was coming from, because he withdrew Mason Greenwood on about 82 minutes and put on Eric Bailly. So we were flooded with defenders. And then, you know, a final substitution on 90 minutes, bringing on Donny van der Beek for Martial, who was equally ineffective. The mind boggles at substitutions at that time of the game, but I guess it's to break up play. So what did we do? We invited them onto us, and a ball came across from the right wing, sailed over all the defenders. I thought Maguire was a bit weak and not challenging for the ball, and Bruno Fernandes, who we will talk about a bit later because he was my man of the match, was in fact ball watching, and it allowed the Brighton striker to nod the ball in on 95 minutes, and we thought that was the end of the game. We'd scrambled a point. Brighton could have felt badly done by because they deserved to win, and lo and behold, what happens? We get a few extra seconds of extra time because time is added on for goal celebrations. We win our first corner of the match. Fernandes takes it into the box. Maguire wins a very good header. The ball's headed goalwards. I think that it's headed off the line, and suddenly we see all the United players appealing for a penalty, and of course the aforementioned Neil Maupay had handled the ball. So a lot of pressure on Bruno Fernandes. He had scored 17 successive penalties prior to this, and up he stepped to smash in number 18 and to get us an ill-deserved victory at the end of the day. I have to say that when Brighton got their equaliser, if my language had been recorded, I definitely would be banned from Facebook. I went absolutely ballistic at the fact that we allowed them in to get an equaliser, but despair was turned into relief more than joy when we got that final penalty, and we ended up winning the game. Now, what about our play during the game? Well, those of you that watched, I think will agree with me that we saw time and time again Brighton able to fashion attacks down the left flank. But they were able to switch the ball from right to left because our right back, Wan-Bissaka, was being drawn into the center of defense continuously, leaving that left flank open all the time. Now, surely this is noted by the manager, that he makes a tactical change with respect to this, but this went on for the entire game. The passing, again, was wayward. We didn't have many shots on target. Fortunately, they counted when they needed to be. And the pace wasn't there, the penetration wasn't there. So it's said by our manager that we haven't had any sort of a pre-season. I guess that's true in some respects, but why do the players look so unfit? I just don't know. In Pogba's case, the guys had COVID. He wasn't able to train. Surely you get him match fit before throwing him in. I don't know. Of course, I am an expert from the armchair. Now, what about individual performances? Before getting on to that, just to mention as well, we had the ball in the net on 2 other occasions through Greenwood and through Rashford, but on both occasions, in fact, Rashford was offsides, and somewhat irritatingly tended to wander offsides all too often during the game, but heck, he did score that cracker of a goal. So individual performances, David de Gea. He, in truth, didn't have that much to do. He was saved by the woodwork on so many occasions, but there was an incident towards the end of the game when he saved at point blank. So I guess we've got to credit him for that. Didn't make any errors, really. There was one occasion where he came out to punch a high ball, and this is an aspect of his game that needs to be worked on because he doesn't get much distance on it, and that did put us under some pressure. But he did okay. He gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think, had his worst game in a United shirt. He allowed several crosses to come in, which is uncharacteristic of his play because he normally defends so well. But he was caught out of position continuously during the game, and I just don't understand why we didn't make a tactical change. Was he being drawn into the centre of defence because Lindelof was a bit suboptimal? I don't know. But a very, very poor game by Wan-Bissaka, a 3 out of 10. Victor Lindelof, well, he couldn't be worse than he was against Palace. He was kind of okay, but again, he needs to harden up his game. For me, he's a soft touch. He's too weak as a centre-back, and maybe he would perform better as a holding midfielder because that's a position that he was known to play in for his previous club, Benfica. He didn't make any major stuff-ups during the game, but I'll give him a 5 out of 10. Harry Maguire. Well, Maguire got into the end of a lot of the crosses that Brighton were putting in. He defended pretty well. He is a little bit leaden-footed, but we've got to credit Harry for being in the opposition box when we got our equalising goal to make it 1-1. We've got to credit him for winning the header that won us the penalty at the end of the game. And what I liked as well is that when it came to that penalty incident, he was very aggressive with respect to the referee. He was in his face. He was in the faces of the Brighton players. And that's what you want from a leader. So a better game from Maguire. He gets a 7 for me. Luke Shaw, I thought, had a pretty good game at left back. He made some surging runs. He won the free kick that earned us the equalising goal at 1-1. But he was a little bit wayward in his passing at times. And on the whole, though, I thought a decent performance, and I will give him a 7 as well. The midfielders, Nemanja Matic. Well, Matic goes about his business pretty quietly. He definitely is a calming influence in front of the back four. The back four are not particularly mobile, especially in the centre of defence, so we need a holding midfielder in front of them. He was calm. He distributed the ball reasonably well. He brought the ball out pretty well at times. He gets a 7 as well. Paul Pogba, he was useless on the day. His passing was wayward. He's got this habit also of when the ball gets played towards him, he likes to shield the ball with his body, thus inviting on the foul. He gets caught in possession at times. He looks horribly unfit at present, and for me, he contributed absolutely nothing. He gets a 2 out of 10. The other midfielder on the day was Bruno Fernandes, and Bruno, whilst ball watching for Brighton's equalising goal at 2-2, and whilst he was a little bit wayward with some of his passes, played a major role in all of our goals. He put the free kick into the box for the first goal. He provided the assist for the second goal. And for the third goal, he took the corner that landed on Maguire's head. And then, of course, he scored the winning penalty. So he gets an 8 out of 10. Mason Greenwood on the right flank, not his best game. He did have some reasonable runs. I would like to see him tracking back, helping our right back a bit more. He did have the ball in the net, but there was an offside decision. But on the day, 5 out of 10. Anthony Martial contributed absolutely nothing. He's got these fast feet. His first touch had deserted him. I don't think he had an attempt on goal during the game. Very poor game by him. He gets 3 out of 10. And Marcus Rashford, well, Marcus scored that cracking goal, but he got caught offsides way too often, was a little bit lazy with respect to that. Some of his passing was wayward. This will be a contentious one. You probably won't agree with me, but he gets a 6 out of 10. As far as our substitutes are concerned, Fred was on for about half an hour. I hardly saw the guy. Not sure what he actually contributed. He's not my favourite kid on the block. He gets a 5 out of 10. Eric Bailly got involved, but was only on the pitch for about 15 minutes in total. He was meant to be there to shore up the defence. He did make a couple of telling interceptions. He gets a 6 out of 10. And Donny van der Beek was introduced right at the end of the game, so I can't really rate him. As far as our manager is concerned, again, contentious on social media because Ollie is not seen in the technical area at all. He seems glued to his seat. He's watching his monitor all the time. And I would like to see him getting up and trying to instill a bit of energy into the players at times. I know he can't be responsible for individual mistakes on the field, but he is responsible for tactics. And many of us could see, as the game went on, how Wan-Bissaka was being drawn into the middle of the park, and that left flank of Brighton was being left exposed continuously. I do think he should have done something to change that. His substitutions are very confusing to me. He went on the defensive in the game, and again, tactically, I'll give him a 3 out of 10 on the day. But heck, we got 3 points. We are visiting Brighton again midweek in the League Cup. No pressure in that game. I expect him to make wholesale changes, but then our next league game against Spurs is a different proposition, and that's going to be a tasty one. Anyway, I'd welcome some comments. Sorry, this was a bit of a long-winded report, but what a game this was. We got out of jail. We didn't deserve anything out of the game, but we came away with 3 points. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care and stay well. Cheers.